Hello and welcome to another episode of Large Data Bank. Hope you all are doing fantastic. Happy Christmas Eve if you're celebrating. Happy 24th of December if you're not. Happy holidays if you're celebrating some other stuff. And hope you guys are having a good day. Hope you're having a good week and beginning of your weekend. I'm coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York, as I do every Friday, to do a little bit of programming and chatting. So that's the plan. It's gonna be a bit of a short stream today. I've got a family obligation to go to after the stream, but hopefully we can do some cool stuff in a couple hours. I learned something today. I feel like a lot of people on the internet, when they're talking about streaming, they'll say streaming with a little sh kind of sound. And any kind of st word, people kind of like to straw it up, you know? Street, cross the street. Streaming. Streaming on the street. And I was kind of curious about that. So I tweeted about it to see if anybody knew what was up. And somebody linked me to an interesting article about it. It turns out, yeah, so it seems like it might be a German thing, but no. I think that even non-Germans do this. Americans are doing this. And I think it's something called S-backing. S-backing. And S-backing is, I don't know, it's just one of those linguistic things. I don't even know what to say. Pronunciation changes, you know? You start out with the st, you end up with a stra. And I think maybe one theory is that your mouth has to make that shape anyway to get that R sound, right? Or something. And the mouth just wants to make that R sound earlier than it's actually supposed to. So you end up with a stra instead of a stra. Something like that. So there you go. There you go. Pretty interesting stuff, I'd say. Very fascinating concept here in the linguistic corner of the internet. What other news? Let's see. My next door neighbor. You know, I talk all about my next door neighbors all the time. They've got a new thing going on. They are redoing their roof. We redid our roof, and it's their turn to redo their roof. So that's exciting. Good for them. I wonder if they hired the same guys. Maybe they did. We had good guys, good roof guys. So maybe they went ahead and hired those same roof guys to do their roof. Very, very cool stuff. I also got upstairs neighbors, which is exciting. If you've been following the saga of my place, you know that the upstairs has been occupied for about a year or more. And some people moved in. They seem nice. They seem chill. We've chatted with them a few times in the hall. They are, yeah, they seem nice. So it's exciting. It's cool stuff. What else? I don't know. Hydron and Pratik and Dominic. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're having a good holiday. Are you seeing any family? Are you stuck home because of COVID? Are you doing other things? What's going on? Are you not celebrating? Are you on vacation? Are you working? Are you reviewing security logs for something? Working on your home labs? Happily stuck home? Memes about AWS outage. Oh yeah, right. So yeah, you've mentioned a few times that you've been able to check out what's going on over there, right? That's exciting. They had a power outage or something in US East 1, the most reliable data center of all of AWS, it seems. People, yeah, if you want to deploy your application reliably, the key thing is to always deploy it only in US East 1, and then you'll be good, right? Isn't that what they say? Other things in my life. I've done the annual thing. It's probably more frequently than annual, which is that I got sick of the current way that I'm taking notes. I was doing Notion. I don't know if anybody's a Notion fan in the chat. I was doing Notion. And it was doing pretty good. You know, I had this whole information architecture going on with databases and views and sorts and lists and group bys and stuff like that. Basically to keep track of meeting notes and kind of things to tell people that I want to remember and not forget. You know, kind of just like a per person task list, but for me, but about that person, right? Like, remember to tell this person XYZ, or remember to do this with that person, right? Keep notes when I chat with them. It's a very important part of my workflow. And so I had this whole system, you know, I had like a people table, and then a one-on-one notes table, and then like a tasks table, and I was sort of linking them all up. The thing is that Notion, it's slow, man. It worked out, and then it sort of got slower and slower, and I don't even have that much data in it. And so I was like, this is not really going to work out. The truth is that I used it for about a month, not very long. The truth is that the best thing that I've ever done in this kind of thing was use org mode. Org mode is actually godlike when it comes to stuff like this. It's just, you write inline to-dos, you can collect the to-dos somewhere else, and you can tab things very quickly. It's just very quick. The problem is that I don't actually know how to use Emacs. And so I used this for a while, but then I took a vacation. I went, like a couple of years ago at this point, I took a vacation. I went to travel in Southeast Asia for a month, and I got back and I forgot completely everything about how to use Emacs. So even though I was using Spacemacs, which has got like the cool key bindings and stuff for Vim users like myself, I just freaking forgot about it, man. I just forgot about it, and I couldn't get back into it. And so I dropped it. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So my org mode experiment ended, and I've been trying a few different things. I still haven't found a good thing, but I will say, I started checking out Obsidian.md. So I'm back on my bullshit. I'm trying out a new note-taking system. Obsidian MD. Obsidian MD is actually pretty sick. Kagura, thank you so much. Happy holidays to you as well. Enjoy yourself. Keep spreading that cheer. Evil mode. Yeah, so Spacemacs does give you evil mode. It's just like the editing, fine, it's VI-like, but all of the configuration stuff is all foreign to me, and I can't really figure it out, and so I don't really like it. Obsidian, though. Obsidian is actually kind of sick. So Obsidian's like a big markdown file directory thing, and it's quite extensible, and people have written a lot of plugins for it. The plugins are quite nice. They have some database views like Notion, and it's growing on me. You can basically associate with each of your markdown files attributes at the top in some YAML front matter area, and then that lets you sort of do queries. There's a little query language that somebody wrote called DataView, and DataView allows you to slice and dice and group by and sort and filter. And I'm sort of rebuilding that architecture that I had with the notes and the people and the tasks inside of Obsidian, and it's pretty good. You know, it's missing a couple things like a calendar view. I really want that calendar view back, but it's pretty good. You know, you can make buttons in it, which is kind of sick. You can make a little button that'll create a note with a template, and you can fill out the template with various things. And slowly, I think I'm gonna make a little. It's kind of like you can write a little application for yourself, basically using these primitives in Obsidian, like a note-taking application that's just for you. So I'm sort of working on that. It's fun. I kind of want to do it on stream, but the problem is that like it's full of like information about people that I wouldn't want to stream about. So I can't really develop this on stream, unfortunately. Although I would like to. It would be fun. I also sort of want to customize one of these plugins to add a calendar view. That could be kind of fun, even though I don't really know how to do anything in JavaScript. We could kind of play around and maybe figure it out. But I'm not quite ready for that because I haven't made like a sample vault or anything like that, or something to play around with that doesn't have sensitive information. So we can't really do that today, but maybe at some point we can. Whew. So what are we going to do today? I think we're just going to do, you know, a little bit of regular old stuff, a few PRs to kind of review, follow up on reviews for, and just kind of some project maintenance for Cockroach stuff. So we're going to do that. I think I'll probably stream tomorrow too. Little Christmas stream, a little Jewish Christmas stream for me, if you know what I mean. So I'll probably stream tomorrow. Maybe we'll play some games or something. I was playing that Scrabble Battle Royale game, Babel Royale, which is pretty awesome. Maybe I streamed that a little bit last time. Maybe I'll do it a bit of a longer stream of Babel Royale tomorrow. It's pretty fun, pretty cool. I don't know if you guys have played that, but it's quite fun. That's what we're gonna do today. So let's get into it, shall we? Shall we get into it? Yeah, let's get into it. So what were we doing last time? We were doing this cursor stuff, right? You guys remember what we were working on? cursors. I enhanced the cursor PR quite a bit. So let me actually, hold on a second. Let me change my project here. Commands, edit, project. Working on SQL cursor support for CockroachDB. And then I'll go ahead and link the PR here. Yeah, so I actually got fairly far on this. It's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. I got fairly far in it. So let's make a quick example of cursors, just to show you guys where we're at. And I'll explain what I need to do to finish this thing up in a second as well. So let's make a table. Create table. A, N. We love making integer tables on the stream. So we'll say A, B, C, as, select, G plus 1, G plus 2 from generate series 1 through 10,000. Just make a big old, whoops. Make a big old table with some data inside, sequential data. Select star from A limit 10, looks like this, whatever. So what's a cursor? A cursor is a way to sort of page through one of these things without having to get it all at once, keeping the state, you know how it works. So here's how you do a cursor. You say begin. You have to have an explicit transaction open to do a cursor, which is a bit annoying. You say declare foo is the name of the cursor, for whatever, syntax makes no sense, select star from A. All right. So now I've got something called a cursor. How do I do things with cursor? I say fetch. I can say fetch 10 foo. This gives me 10 rows from foo. I can say fetch 10 foo again. It's going to give me the next 10 rows from foo. That's pretty cool, right? What else can I do with the cursor? I can say relative. So I can say fetch relative 10 foo. And what this is going to do is it's going to skip forward by 10 and give me one row. I can also say fetch absolute. So I can say fetch absolute 35. That'll give me the 35th row in the cursor. I can say a few other things, like I can say fetch all. There's a few syntaxes like forward 3 foo. It's the same as fetch 3 foo. Now, you might probably notice that I'm only going forwards here. That's because the cursor implementation I made, it's very simplistic. It only allows you to go forward. To go backward in a cursor, either it's complicated and you have to have deep support inside of your query engine to do it, which we don't have, or you have to buffer all the results in a buffer and then be able to page back and forth. But if I were to say fetch backward 3 foo, I'll get an error. Cursor can only scan forward. So that's what that is. I can abort the end. And that's what's going on with cursors. So what do I have to do with cursors to make this stuff work out in the end? Faust, thank you so much for the 4 months of Prime. Really appreciate it, my friend. Hope you are doing super. Happy Christmas Eve if you're celebrating. So what's missing for cursors? It's something called cursor sensitivity. So you might remember last time I was joking about, because some of the options that cursors support, they're pretty funny. There's some sensitivity options, quote unquote. Here's the 3 options for sensitivity. Sensitive cursors, insensitive cursors. Okay, makes sense. Yes and no, sensitive. Then there's a third option called asensitive. And I think what asensitive is supposed to mean is like, it's neither sensitive nor insensitive, but it's sort of defined as implementation defined. So it's like really probably the worst thing ever. But in any case, what is cursor sensitivity? It basically is telling you whether the cursor notices other changes that you made to the data that the cursor is scanning over in the same transaction after the cursor was created. So for example, let's say I say begin, and I say declare, and then I insert some data into the table, insert into A, values, some big number, whatever. The question is, does food notice this big value or not? So it's going to be at the end. Although I didn't actually, I think it'll be at the end. Anyway, so the question is, will food notice this big value? So if I say fetch all food, you can see that it doesn't see the value at the end. And this is actually desirable. This is called insensitivity. And the default's supposed to be insensitive, and insensitive is sort of what you're supposed to be. The only thing is that, so you might think, oh great, so you have an insensitive cursor, but the truth is that I actually don't have an insensitive cursor, and the truth is that it's a bit tricky, and it has to do with the way that Cockroach fetches data at the very bottom of the stack. How much does it fetch at once? When does it know that a scan is finished? And unfortunately, it turns out that the cursor implementation that I've created is actually sensitive. And if I could demonstrate that by making a table that was really big, so like more than, I think, 10 megabytes or something. There's some default fetch size maximum. And if I have a table that's bigger than that default fetch size maximum, then instead of just fetching the whole thing up front using a single big chunk, it'll say, okay, well, I fetched a chunk, but there's more to go. And then I insert my data, and then I try to fetch again, and it'll be like, any more chunks? And it'll find another chunk and then return that data, which is undesirable and bad. So I'm hoping what I can do today is fix that problem. Luckily in Cockroach, we do have some sort of primitives that allow you to do things like this. Specifically, it's the same stuff that we use to implement transaction save points, which allow you to sort of pick a sequence number and make your writes happen at that sequence number, and you can read before or after that sequence number. So it's sort of a way to have a fine-grained transactional thing going on. And so the idea is that I think I should be able to sort of fix a sequence number for this particular thing, and then have the cursor be sensitive, or insensitive rather, by saying, okay, all my reads for this cursor is going to happen at fixed sequence point X, and any writes are going to happen at a later sequence point. And that's the idea. So we're going to try it, and we'll see how far we get. What's up, Sartak? Happy Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas Eve. That thing. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing super well. So what do we have to do to make this happen, though? What do we have to actually do? By the way, everybody who's watching, make sure to join the Large Data Bank Discord. We're growing a Discord. We've got a lot of good chatter happening in there already, and you should definitely join and partake in that chatter. We're talking about tech. We're talking about home labs. We're talking about video decoding stuff that I don't really understand. Maybe I should make this invite a little bit more appealing looking, huh? A little better looking command than what I've got here. Let me fix that. Commands, edit, Discord, join the Large Data Bank Discord for fun chats and times. All right. So join that Discord if you haven't already. Okay, so what are we doing? What are we doing? We are going to go ahead and look at what's happening in this repo. And you can see I've sort of maybe started to play around with this a little bit already. Where is my IDE though? It's over here. Cool. So this SQL cursor file is where we've begun to implement this declare fetch business. This is sort of what we did last time. And what we can do, so let me explain like what is going on exactly and like why we have this problem of sensitivity. Essentially, when we create a cursor, we're going to be using what we call an internal executor to fetch the data for the cursor, and that gets spawned using this query iterator command thing here. And so when I use query iterator, ultimately what we're doing is we're passing in a transaction object, and that's going to be the transaction that we use to get all of the data from the database. And the thing is that this transaction object, like because of the way that this fetching stuff works and these cursors sort of work, right? Let's create our table again, begin. So I'm going to declare my cursor. So imagine that this cursor sort of has some transaction object that's related to this transaction that I've just opened. And then let's say I do an insert, right? The thing is that the transaction object that we've given to this thing, if this guy edits it, which I think it does to establish a new sequence point, like I was saying about how do we know where writes kind of go to, I think since this thing establishes a new sequence point, it's actually mutating the transaction object that this guy has, so that when I come back down and fetch from this guy, it's not like the transaction has been captured at a particular sequence point at all. It's unfortunately not that. So the issue, yeah, is basically that I've got to find a way to fix the transaction sequence value for this thing, so that when I do fetch foo again, fetch 10 foo, this fetching is using some transaction with a fixed ID. And it's unfortunately, it's a little bit difficult to do this because it's not like I can just make a copy of the transaction and like have it be going around separately, because there's reasons that basically like inside of the database code, we don't really have support for having more than one root transaction object at the same time for like just basically implementation detail reasons. We do support something called a leaf transaction though. And a leaf transaction, the idea is that it allows you to so imagine a distributed SQL query where there's lots of nodes participating in a particular transaction, and you might have them all concurrently reading data from the database. You have to kind of permit that somehow. And if you can't have everybody reading from the same root transaction, you have to have some method of doing that. And what we use is something called a leaf transaction, which is, I don't know how it works exactly, but it's sort of an object that's lesser, right? It points to a main transaction. And so I think what I want to try to do here is make this guy use a leaf transaction, because then I can sort of copy it and fix it and everything. There's a couple of problems with this, which is that leaf transactions can't do everything that root transactions can. And for example, they can't spawn more leaf transactions. So there's a couple of problems. And so basically, I'll show you what I did. Is I said, well, I'm going to create a new leaf transaction that's kind of pointed at the original transaction that I was passed here, and then send that leaf transaction to my query iterator. But unfortunately, that doesn't actually work. So what I get is an error. And I'll actually just show you, because it should be interesting. Should be interesting. So if I run Cockroach demo, let's do the same thing we did before. cdemo, create table. So if I do begin, and I do my cursor thing, and then if I do a fetch 10 foo, what I get is an error. So I get update deadline called on leaf transaction. And so what is that about exactly? Ultimately, this is just some problem. Update deadline called on leaf transaction. So why is that? I don't know. Let's like actually try to figure this out, because I think this is basically where I gave up. Update deadline called, no? Update deadline parentheses, but just called on leaf. Update deadline called on leaf transaction. Update deadline sets a transaction's deadline to the past deadline. If the deadline is blah, blah, blah. So I guess these deadlines. I guess a deadline for a transaction is the time at which it has to commit by, maybe? And there's just a panic that says I can't do that. So unfortunately, I don't really know why. I don't really necessarily feel great about just deleting this. That doesn't seem particularly legit, especially because this has been around for like at least several years. Transaction commit deadlines at least should be late bound. So it seems like I could conceivably try to like do the first part of the work that needs to get done with the root transaction, and then ask the code to create a leaf transaction afterwards. But I also don't know how legit that would be. Make exec plan. Another thing that's confusing is that I want to make sure that this happens. This error should have happened in this declare statement and not at this fetch statement. So that's also a little bit confusing. So like, when do we actually start? Yeah, see, in declare cursor, I figured we would actually start doing the work at this point, right? We've created this iterator, and maybe it's just the case that when this doesn't do any work until the rows, until somebody like nexts the rows. Oh, you know, I bet actually we did get this error and it's just sitting around waiting to be like looked at though. So I think we're probably safe, because I think this does actually do a bunch of stuff right up front, right? It says exec internal, ensure span, fill arguments, init, and then all right, then it gets all asyncy. So that's a little bit irritating, trying to figure out what's going on. But I do think that it happens right immediately. Like I suppose I could even check by saying, doesn't rows have like an error? Or no, I guess it doesn't. It's too bad. I can't check the error until I ask for the next row. Anyway, I don't think that this is important. I'm like fairly sure that what I'm saying is true and that it really is going to be giving me an error that I just haven't seen quite yet. So I guess the question is, can I ask this thing to like create a leaf transaction after the initial query setup? And I think I should be able to, but it's kind of deep, right? Because like, the transaction is sort of used to initialize this thing, and then it's stored inside of this con executor. If the TXN is a leaf transaction, okay, so that's actually interesting though, because it means that we are aware that this might be a thing. So I'm wondering, maybe something has rotted then? Maybe update deadline. See, unfortunately, I don't really understand. Oh, you know what? I actually have an idea. I bet if I ask maybe if I create a plan for the query ahead of time, which I should be doing anyway, I think, then maybe I can do that myself in the root transaction or something like that. Maybe. Although, I'm not sure, because it edits all the state in the planner. So it's maybe not so easy. It's maybe not so easy. I mean, the other option is basically that we could find a way to say, do all the work up until here with the root transaction, and then create a leaf transaction for the actual query part, which we could conceivably do. We could conceivably do that part. It just feels a little janky. Get plan distribution, then there should be like a plan and run exactly the SQL engine, right? So like, we could say at this point, if we need to execute the query using a leaf transaction, create the leaf transaction and proceed. The only thing is if we did this, we would also have to change it so that this guy would always be using false, because like I mentioned, you can't make a leaf transaction spawn another leaf transaction, and that means we can't distribute the query. So, and that is actually a major bummer, a very major bummer that we couldn't actually distribute the query. Now there is a final option, which I've thought about, and it is sketchy, but it might also work, which is that I think that we could conceivably mutate the transaction. Well, could we? I think we might be able to. So basically, like the issue, right, is that if you do this declare and then you do an insert right after it, the insert's going to change the read, what is it called? The like sequence number. And you could conceivably say every time you fetch, you could switch the sequence number back to what it was originally. And I think that that's like probably unsafe to some extent. But I can also guarantee that there's no like concurrent execution here. Like if I run fetch, once it finishes like the transaction inside of this fetch, it's going to be sort of dormant until the next time I call fetch. And so maybe that would be fine. I think I'm going to actually try that because even though it is sort of sketchy, I think it's the quickest way to like actually get something that could conceivably work, even though it's like possibly busted. So let's just try that actually, because the rest of it just requires a lot of plumbing, to be honest. And I don't super love doing plumbing. It's not the most fun thing in the world. So basically what we're going to have to do to make this work is what? We go inside of fetch cursor. It will be hard though, right? Because it will be really hard. Maybe it'll be impossibly hard. I'm not sure. So we have to basically capture, well, maybe it won't be so bad. Maybe we have to capture the transaction. So that's simple. This guy, instead of just having an internal rows, it'll also need to have a transaction. Although we can probably just, can we like get the transaction from inside of here somehow? It's probably better to just capture it. So we're gonna capture this transaction. And this is a kv.txn. txn is the transaction object that the internal executor for this cursor is running with. Okay, so when we populate this guy, we do need to add the transaction. So we'll say txn is going to be p.txn, which is right here. Okay, so maybe this isn't so bad. And then basically when I say fetch cursor, oh, you know what we also need is we also need to capture that sequence number somehow. So how do I do that is a question. So can I ask for the sequence number from this thing or not so much? I actually don't know where this sequence number is stored inside of a kv.txn. So we should probably find that out. So it's got an ID, debug name, priority, previous ID, sender. Oh, you know what? I think it might be deep inside of this thing, which would be pretty annoying. TXN status, create save point, roll back to save point, release save point, read timestamp, commit timestamp. Epic? Is this? No, this is something different. Step. So this is related. Step creates a sequencing point, a snapshot baseline. So what we need to do is figure out the step ID or whatever, but maybe we can't even ask for that, which would be really sad. Maybe we would need to add a method to this thing, which could be annoying. So step locked, txn seek num allocator. So what does this guy do? It says read seek is equal to write seek. Bumps the read seek num to the current write seek num. So what if I were to capture this read seek? Can I ever, is there anything that returns this? Old header.sequence. Is there anything that returns this anywhere? Populate leaf input state? Huh. Perhaps I could use this method. Get leaf txn input state. It's pretty wasteful, but it would give me the seek number. Let's do that for now, just to hack this, to see if it might actually work. So we're just gonna hack this for now. So we're gonna say p.txn.get leaf txn input state of context. So if I say this, okay, this music is it's not good. I tried to get DMCA free Christmas music, but it isn't really working out so well, I would say. So we're just gonna switch back to a typical playlist. Okay. So we're gonna grab our input state, and then we can say input state dot read seek num. It's a bit too loud, huh? You get this read seek num is equal to this. And we can just populate it right here. So read seek num input state dot read seek num. Now, we will have to find a way to set this bad boy, which might be a little weird, but let's just make a field for this. Read seek num is the sequence number of the transaction that the cursor was initialized with. Okay, so we're gonna initialize this guy. And then the only thing that we have to do is actually figure out how to like edit this or whatever. Initialize leaf. I feel like I'm definitely playing with fire, and this probably makes no sense, but I'm just gonna try it, just for ideas, just for idea purposes. So like this step thing, for example, like where does that happen? Step, part of the TXN sender interface. txn.mu.sender.step. So if I were to, I could make a new function in this TXN, like func txn set read seek num. Then I could basically say txn, I got to do this locking. And then instead of just saying step, I want to say sender dot set seek num. Very, very broken and janky probably, but hey. What can I say besides why not? Why not? This is going to take a... It's going to take a what? What is this thing called? It's a... This is also not a context. Engine pb.txn seek. Engine pb.txn seek. All right, so set read seek num sets the sequencing point for the current transaction. Yeah. And I don't think it can return an error right now. Okay, so then let's jump down to the places where we need to implement this thing. Okay, so here we just say tc.mu.lock, unlock, And then we set this bad boy. Read seek is equal to seek. All right. So coming back up, we just need to implement this once more on this mock thing, I guess, to make this stuff happen. Presumably we can maybe do nothing here. I don't know what this mock thing is for, but we'll just do nothing. So set read seek num engine pb dot seek num. All right. Okay, so given all that, we have no errors to return. Set read seek num sets the sequence number for this transaction. Very good commenting, for sure. It totally helps you understand what's going on. Not, but that's okay. We're just, again, playing around to see if we can get this thing to work at all. So we've initialized with our input state seek num, and then the trick is that in our fetch, what we have to do is say, in our fetch, we say cursor dot read seek num. Is this totally janky? No, I think it basically will work. We're gonna say, ooh, but we also have to revert it at the end, don't we? So we have to make sure about that, huh? So we can do it in the close method, maybe. Let's be careful. We need to do this. We probably want to do this in start exec. So we can say cursor f.cursor dot txn dot so let's get the current state first of all, which we can do with get leaf input state of params dot context. And then we can say cur or real txn seek num or old txn seek num engine pb dot seek. So we can say all f dot old txn seek num dot equals state dot read seek num, and then we get to say f dot cursor dot txn dot set read seek num to be f dot cursor dot read seek num, and then during close we get to revert this back. This is probably like the jankiest, most broken thing of all time, but you know what? That's fine. So we're gonna set this back to f dot old txn seek num. Okay. Who wants to guess whether this is gonna work? I think, so first let's make a test case that wouldn't work without this thing. That's important. Which I think I have it. I think it's in a logic test. I don't know what I do with my phone. I left it somewhere. That's all right. Okay, so let's see. What's up, Skyward? So taking a look at our demo, let's see if anything even is functional. whatsoever. Begin, declare, fetch. That does seem to work, which is cool. So then let's go ahead and say insert into foo values. Now, of course, this isn't going to demonstrate the problem. Oh, crap. First try. Well, we haven't actually tested the problem yet, but at least it doesn't crash, which is cool. So you know what we should do? We do have a logic test for this. So let's go ahead and run. I think it might be, is it this one? Foo. So yeah, so basically what this test does is it generates a table that's pretty big. So it's an 11 megabyte table, which is over the limit for fetches. And so what we do is we create a big table. We start a transaction. We make a new value. We declare something. We insert another value. We say fetch relative 12 foo to come up to here. And then the thing that we shouldn't see is this value if we're properly doing insensitive cursors. But if we have a sensitive cursor, we will see this value. And so this test, I think, is, yeah, this test should test whether we're doing things right or not. So let's try this or not. Is it big for table? No, it's not big at all. But it happens to be bigger than some internal batch size thing that is relevant for this particular project. So if I say make test based logic files equals foo test config equals local, we'll see what happens here. We will see what happens. Huh. Dude, first try. Absolutely first try. Well, sweet. I have a feeling that my coworkers are going to be like, dude, don't do this. Super broken. How many table writes can Cockroach handle per second? A lot. So it's a horizontally scalable system, which means that the more nodes you add to it, the more writes you can handle per second. You know, a lot. You can get millions if you put enough nodes. So it's a pretty scalable system. Pretty scalable, I would say. What did I do with my cell phone? I'm so confused. Where would I have left my cell phone? Okay, let me check one more place. I'll be right back. Classic mistake, left it on the sink in the bathroom. Drop it in the chat. I'm not that comfortable with you guys yet. Okay, so that's cool. Let's go ahead and make a new commit for this maybe. First of all, let's go ahead and add this test into my actual test cases. So I have a file called cursor, which is where this test really belongs. Okay, so test cursor sensitivity. Make sure also that the cursor is sensitive on a large table that will require fetching more than once. Since we fetch a batch as soon as we run the declare, we need to make sure that we and the batch would, the scan would end after that first batch. We didn't have more than one batch of data inside. We need to make sure that the table has more than one batch of data inside. Okay, have that for a tautological. Oh, hey, Provode, thank you so much for the raid of 69 people. Very nice. Happy Christmas Eve, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Merry December, happy whatever. Happy nothing if you're celebrating nothing. Hope you guys are doing super well. Welcome into Large Data Bank. I'm Jordan. On the stream, we typically do programming on Fridays. We work on CockroachDB. So I personally work for the company that makes CockroachDB. So on Friday, we do some open source development of CockroachDB, which is a distributed SQL database. And that's what we're doing today. No surprise. We're working on cursors, which is a feature of SQL that allows you to create a query and read from it little by little with separate commands, maybe while even interleaving other commands while you're doing that conversational SQL. So that's what we're kind of up to today. Trava, you asked the streamer to raid. Thank you so much. Really appreciate Trava, one of my loyal viewers. Appreciate that. What's up, Just Snoopy as well. What were you guys doing on the stream, Provode? I hope you had a great one. Are you also a Twitch programmer? One of the few, one of the great. But yeah, hope you guys are doing fantastic. If you have any questions about databases or what I'm doing, always love to answer them. So definitely drop those in the chat. And yeah, so does this, we were just writing a test case is what we were doing. So we have this test case already. We just wanted to make it copy into this sort of better test file. Provode is a Twitch Rust programmer. Awesome. Very, very cool. I'm a fan of Rust, but I don't really know how to use it. Cockroach is written in Go. It's probably one of the most common questions I get, actually, is like, how come Cockroach wasn't written in Go? I mean, in Rust. So yeah, but Rust is cool. I just don't really know it too well myself. I'd like to learn at some point, but just haven't gotten there yet to make all these things capital because SQL is silly. If I don't make these capital, then there's a linter that'll yell at me if you like to know what our linters do. It's really stupid. Mostly doing Half-Life hardware ray tracing using C, Vulkan, and GLSL. That is very cool. Very, very cool stuff. Graphics. I had a lot of fun doing graphics in college. I took a graphics class and we did, I don't think Vulkan was like a thing yet, but we did, what do you call it? OpenGL, I guess. OpenGL is like a higher level Vulkan, basically. Vulkan's like low level OpenGL or something. But anyway, yeah, graphics, lots of cool. I haven't really done that in a long time since I haven't been really a professional graphics guy throughout my career, but it is very neat. Fun to play around with that stuff. Streaming Rust last year, will be streaming again next year. That's cool. Very cool. What is up, Somoni? So the reason it wasn't written in Rust is that we started the project in 2015, kind of 2014, 2015, and Rust wasn't really an option, I guess. So Go was it, you know? In retrospect, was it a good decision? I think Go is a good programming language for this project because, you know, it's garbage collected. And garbage collection is not useful for every part of the database. Part of the database, it's kind of bad for it actually, but for a lot of it, the database it's got a lot more business logic than you think. It's not just raw performance. And for that business logic part, man, it is nice to be able to write in Go. I think for the performance sensitive parts, like the execution engine in particular, Rust would be a better choice, but we didn't really have the option. And, you know, it's not so easy to interoperate between the two languages. So it's kind of a trade-off, you know. I think we made a good decision, but who knows? Who knows what we would do today if we tried again today. Rust doesn't have channels. Rust has the fastest channels. If I ever address the query optimizer in my streams, so I don't really stream too much about the optimizer because the truth is that I don't understand it well enough to be fluent in talking about it. I would like to. I've done a couple of small optimizer rules on the stream, but I don't do it too frequently because the truth is I just don't understand it that well. Cockroach, will it use generics? That's a great question. We haven't really answered that yet as a group of developers. I would say probably, but not extensively would be my guess. There's a couple of use cases that we have for generics that we will probably use it for. Like we have a few B trees that we need to be really high performance. And right now we do some pretty gross hacks to make those high performance using unsafe pointers and stuff like that. And we'll probably use generics for those, but I'm not sure about other places, to be honest. I'm just not so sure. Everyone's writing their own query optimizers. There's something called Calcite, I think, which I was looking at. Apache Calcite, which I think is supposed to be like a generic query optimizer and execution engine, but it's written in Java. And I'm not really sure how good it is. But it is pretty cool. It's sort of got, you know, a whole optimizer that you can theoretically use in a reusable way, I think. 2 months of learning to be able to use anything useful in Rust after reading Go tutorial for 2 hours. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So that is sort of like one major difference between Rust and Go, right? It's just the ease of getting into it. Go, it's pretty simple to understand and start working on it if you've programmed professionally before, or not even professionally, right? If you've programmed languages before, you'll probably understand Go without too much work. Whereas Rust, it does take more work into it for sure. What's up, Pliskin? How are you doing? Okay, so what is going on with this, right? So I think like basically here's our test case. So let's let me actually give all the new viewers a quick demo of what cursors are about, just very quickly. So if I make a table here in Cockroach, this is C demo is sort of like an in-memory CockroachDB database. And I make a little table with 10,000 rows in it. The idea is I can make a cursor with something called declare, except I need to be in a transaction first. So I make a transaction, I do declare. If I say fetch 10 foo, it'll give me, 10 rows from this foo cursor, which is just selecting everything from this table. And the thing that we were working on, and you can see, by the way, if you want to look at the PR that I've been working on, you can click that link in the chat. But the thing that I'm working on right now is making sure that if you create a cursor and then you insert some data into the same table, whoops. If you create a cursor, and you fetch from it a little bit, and then you insert into A values, you insert some new data. We need to make sure that the cursor can't see this because the insert happened after the cursor was declared. So that's what we've been kind of hacking on. And this is what the test case is doing by making a table that's reasonably sized to avoid some batch size stuff, doing this insert, doing the declare, doing another insert, and then making sure this second insert is not visible. So let's annotate this thing. Make sure that the cursor can't see the 101 arg line, which would indicate that the cursor is in fact sensitive to writes after it was declared. How are you going to do it? Well, we already did it. You missed that part of it. But the general idea is that we have this thing called transaction sequence points, and we can hook into that mechanism for this exact problem. So let's go ahead and make a commit out of this, shall we? So we're going to say, actually, there's a few things we need to clean up first, right? We need to probably improve the doc strings on some of these functions. So probably in sender.go. Transactions do the same thing. So the way that transactions work in Cockroach and in other MVCC systems is that they kind of have a timestamp and a sequence number. And all of the data on disk is also annotated with that timestamp and sequence number. So when you do a read, you skip all of the data that's been written after your timestamp or after your sequence number. So it's not really that you've your own version of data. It's just like you're looking at a view of the data that's already in the database, constrained to only the things that came before your timestamp and sequence point. So that's kind of the idea. Okay. And the other thing I probably want to do, let's make sure that we're clear about what this is about. So we need to make sure you can't delete stale data unless there are no more transactions using it. Yes, exactly. That is tricky. We don't really do, our TTL default is quite high. It's like 24 hours. So it allows you to kind of time travel into the past and look at data as it was at a particular, point in time or whatever. But we definitely wouldn't be able to do a short TTL if there were people still reading data from that particular time window. Exactly. There's some mechanism for doing that, I think, in the database. I don't quite know how it works, but it is a thing. We need to make sure that we're reading at the same read sequence number that we had when we created the cursor to preserve the sensitivity semantics of cursors, which demand that no data is visible, which demand that data written after the cursor was declared is not visible to the cursor. Okay, and then down here during close, reset the transactions read sequence number to what it was before the fetch began, so that subsequent reads in the transaction can still see writes from that transaction. Okay, so that's basically what we need to do, I think. There's a few other things. Okay, so let's quickly make a commit for this. So let's git add -p. We'll add this. We'll add this. We'll add this. We'll delete this. We'll add this. We'll add this. We'll delete this. Oh yeah, there was another quick thing we wanted to do, which is to add a better way of getting the sequence number here, because we're sort of utilizing a janky method of doing that. Get leaf txn input state, which is a bit more expensive. Well, I mean, it's not like that much more expensive, so maybe it's fine. I'll leave it for now and see if people complain. I think it's basically okay. Let's write what this is. Old txn seek num. Let's call this a ridge. A ridge txn seek num is the txn transaction sequence number of the user's transaction before the fetch began. Okay. Yeah. So, what else did I want to do here? Make our commit, right? Okay, so we're gonna say git commit. So we'll say SQL make cursors insensitive. This commit sets the using txn sequence numbers. Sets the read transaction. It's the transaction read sequence, I guess. Causes cursors to be insensitive, aka not reading writes that happen after they were declared in a transaction by setting the transactions, by fixing the transaction sequence number for cursor fetches. Even if subsequent writes happen, and change that sequence number in the user's transaction. How do nodes communicate in Cockroach? They use gRPC and protobuf to talk to each other over the network. Is that what you're asking? Let's just get rid of these two changes here. Okay, so that's that. What is next? Let's go to our PR here. So there's a few things we need to do. We need to ban mutations. Oh yeah, so here's another funny thing, which is that we are not allowed to use mutations inside of a cursor query because they just cause issues. So we're not currently enforcing that, but we should be doing that. We did this already. We don't need to do this any longer. So let's go ahead and edit this, delete these two. So we've got to do this, ban mutations from CTEs. Is gRPC performance enough for high throughput systems? Yeah, I would say so. So what is a common table expression with a mutation? I'll show what that is here. So if I say with, let's say create a table A int, primary key b int. If I were to say something like with x as insert into a values 1, 2, returning b, select star from x. So if I do this, it's kind of a weird, hold on. So let's drop table A, create table. Let's not make this a primary key. So what this does, it's very odd, but this actually does inserts into this table, even though it looks like a regular select query. So this is called a common table expression with a mutation. So if I select star from A at this point, you'll see that it's got a lot of data in it. And we need to make sure that our cursors can't run queries like this, but they actually can right now. So if I said begin, and then I said declare foo cursor for, and then put this thing, I think this would actually work. And I could say fetch all foo. And that's not good, since the cursor shouldn't be able to mutate stuff. So we need to ban this kind of statement, which I'm not exactly sure how to do that, to be honest, but we can figure it out. So how would I? So perhaps I could just make the whole thing have a read-only mode session variable or something. Like what would happen if I say set read-only equals true? Is that a thing? Or I could say maybe, is there something like begin transaction read-only? Cannot execute create table in a read-only transaction. What if I made a table? Oh, wait. Begin transaction read-only, insert into a values 1. So where does this come from? This says cannot execute insert in a read-only transaction. So let's take a look. And what about if I do the common table expression? Begin transaction read-only with access insert into a values 1 returning a select star from x. Cannot execute insert in a read-only transaction. Where does that come from? Cannot execute insert. Thank you. Cannot execute blah in a read-only transaction. Where is this coming from? Exec builder relational.go, eh? b.eval context.txn read-only. The other truth is though, you guys, very weird thing about this thing that I've built is that if I say begin, and I say declare foo cursor for select star from some random table that doesn't exist, this actually works, which shouldn't really work. I don't think, like, I should be able to actively detect that this is going to be broken. So it kind of makes me feel like I should just do all of this stuff up front in a special phase, even if it requires replanning the whole thing, just because like it's going to fix a bunch of issues anyway. So why don't we try doing that? So over here, I think what we want, oh, you know what we can do? We could actually say data is equal to p.session data. I think I could say data dot session data dot, is there a read only in this thing? Default txn read only? This doesn't seem useful. Okay, never mind. Never mind. It's too bad though, isn't it? Session data. How come session data doesn't include, oh, is it local only session data? Default txn read only, but what about just like the read only state? Where is that thing? Guess it's stored somewhere else. Oh well. That is fine. That is fine. You know what? You know what? It's a bummer that you can't ask this thing if it's gotten any errors, because that would solve a lot of problems for me all up at once. That would really solve a lot of problems for me. And I'm wondering whether it would just make sense to change this interface to say, to see if it has, you know, to add like basically an error thing to eagerly fetch any errors it might have seen. I feel like that would actually solve a lot of problems for me. Because if we look at rows iterator, you see how it has this last error thing? Oh, but it's got a callback, huh? Now that's interesting. What is this for? Has a callback. What is it? Wait, what does this callback do though? It can transform the error. I guess, is that useful? I don't know, I'm confused. I'm confused. Who sets this last error thing? It might actually just be sitting in a channel, like unconsumed until somebody hits next, which is pretty sad. I'm still thinking that it could be easier to check the error up front. What's a good use case for cursors? So basically people use cursors to page through data in a way that doesn't require having to use like a limit or offset kind of pagination strategy. It's basically for pagination. It is a good question though, because there's better ways to do pagination than to use cursors. Like key-based pagination is kind of key-based pagination is the best kind of way to use pagination for sure. Key-based pagination is where you get a bunch of data back and you get back a key or a prefix of a key that your primary key is starting with, and you can send that back to the database next time you want to do things, and then it'll resume from that point efficiently. Limit offset pagination, very inefficient because there's no efficient way to do limit or offset in the database. You have to actually iterate over the rows. So you don't want to do that either. And cursors are kind of weird because you have to keep a connection and state open to the database. So honestly, the best way to do pagination is key-based pagination. Cursors are another way, and people like to use it. There's some tools that also use it. So like, I don't know, basically you should sometimes use cursors, but not a lot of the time. Sorry if that was not a good answer. Anybody know a good Discord where people talk about databases? Well, you should join my Discord for sure. You should definitely join my Discord. There are lots of people hanging out in my Discord, not chatting about databases, but maybe you can be the first. I'm sure people would like to chat about it there. But I don't know if there's like a general databases Discord. I haven't heard of one. But maybe they will talk about databases in my Discord soon enough. We'll see. Maybe we can make a channel for it. So right. Where data channel, i.e. result, blah, blah, blah. Data channel. Where do we read from this data channel? It's over here. First result, when do we call this thing? What is all this? This is exec internal. The other place that we use first result is what? Next result. Gosh, this is confusing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm confused. We're talking about all sorts of good stuff in that Discord, man. I'm telling you, it's a fascinating place to have all your questions answered about life, the universe, databases, and everything. Or maybe nothing, but also everything, you know? A little bit of both, a little bit of neither. So this actually does give me back the first result, doesn't it? Isn't that interesting? Because I did see somebody said first result. You see this? We need to block r.last error. So we are setting the last error here, which is very interesting, isn't it? I mean, for example, why wouldn't I say, let's return the, why don't we just say return that r.last error? This is gonna break all sorts of stuff, for example, but let's try it out. Lithium, thank you so much for the 15 months of tier 1 subscription. I really appreciate it. Welcome back to the data bank. Enjoy those emotes and enjoy that exclusive subscriber status in the Discord. But thanks a lot, man. Trava uses cursors for read rows by batch, right? The thing about cursors in Postgres and Cockroach is that you don't actually need cursors to paginate. If you just run a regular query against Postgres and just stop reading from your client side handle, that will use pagination under the hood. That's the thing that's confusing about it. The protocol has cursors built in, basically, and they're just as efficient as the cursor that I'm implementing now. So that's what's a little bit confusing about it. You don't really need a server-side cursor in Postgres to be able to do some of this stuff. So let's try this out. If I run cdemo, what happens if I say create table, begin, declare? Okay, it's the same thing, which is odd. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? Am I ignoring the error? I don't think so, right? Query iterator. Well, I don't really know. Help you with isolated modification data without lock on table or row. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand though why this isn't. Why wouldn't this notice this planning error? I don't get that. I guess we could, why don't we make a little test case and we can use the debugger here. So we'll get rid of this. We'll say declare foo cursor for select star from blah. And so let's go ahead and debug this. And we're gonna put a breakpoint here. And see what happens. Thanks again to Provode for the raid, by the way. He's still there. They're still there. Don't know. But give them a follow. Okay, so we are now... But the issue with this is that this could be kind of stopped for any random reason, which we don't really want. So we want to do, oh yeah, I learned about this new feature actually. I think what I can do is I can actually make a breakpoint here. Then I can make this breakpoint conditional on the other breakpoint being hit. So let me try that out. So if I click more, then I can say condition, no wait, disable until hitting the following breakpoint. And then I can specify this one, which is very cool actually. That's very, very cool stuff. So let's try this out. VS Code missing that feature. So we can get rid of this. We don't care about this. Get rid of this. We don't care about this. Okay, so here's my special one. Now, if I hit continue, wow, that is very neat, actually. Very, very neat stuff. So let's go ahead and step from here. So we'll step over this defer, step over this parse, step over this stuff, step over all of this stuff, blah, 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 init, do some stuff, skip some stuff. We basically just want to actually break. We probably just want to continue until we hit, where is it? Probably here, right? So let's just go ahead and say run to cursor. Okay. So we've run to cursor. We're going to step into first result. And I guess the thing that's confusing here is that maybe there's a race. Is that the issue? Is it just that there's a race? Maybe there's just a race and we're not going to really get it. Oh, no, it's not a race. It's just that well, maybe it is a race. Okay, so we get this thing. Our first is going to be set to i.e. iterator result. And we do have an error here, so that's good, actually. So if we skip forward, it's not done. Wait a minute, what? Crap, did I just lose all my context here? That would be sad. We can maybe restart in a second if we need to. But oh, is it just that I don't set last error? Is that the issue here? So like, if I get first back, and first happens to contain an error, I think the idea is that I want to return that error here. So it's a bit different than the code that I'm doing. So let's turn off my debugger. We're gonna basically get rid of this. And we're gonna say if, it's confusing though, right? Run this, yeah. So that last error thing is actually a bit confusing, isn't it? So I think we wanna say if r.first, are we always gonna have an r.first at this point? Seems like yes, because we jump into this, which is kind of weird. If not r.done, I guess we could say if not r.done and r.first. You know, let's put it up over here, honestly. We'll say if r.first dot error is not equal to nil, return nil error. That's all we need to do. And it's not error, it's r.first.error. I think that this should maybe solve the problem. Maybe. Make build. Let's try it out. See demo. Begin, declare. Okay, it hangs forever, huh? Well, that's cool. What's up, Domsco? I'm working on a feature for CockroachDB. Why would this hang forever? Why what the heck would this hang forever? That makes very little sense. I guess it's because we need to make sure to close down our executor, maybe? Maybe we're just sort of waiting. I don't really understand this. I don't know. Is this just a rabbit hole? The other alternative, right, was going to be that we could over here say, before we do our query, we could say, try to plan the cursor query to make sure that it's valid. So I could say something like p dot. How do I do that exactly? Con executor exec. Where do we run the optimizer? Where do we run the stupid optimizer? The beginning of query, it's always a bit of a mess. Is it this guy, make exact plan? It's probably this guy, right? Prepare, optimize, make optimizer plan. Prepare plan.init. It's just like, it's just expensive, right? Because you've got to like, I don't know. I guess I could just grab this stuff more or less. See if it fails or not. We'll see. Let's try that. We'll say and we're going to pass in what, our statement, which is going to be called like s.select. This is called, it's called groove box. This needs to be a statement. Why would this not be? Contains a statement with option. Oh, okay. So it's actually much more complicated of an object, unfortunately. Man, it's not as easy as you would expect to sort of start out one of these guys, is it? So where do we set this thing? You can run make statement on it. What does that do? Oh, okay, so maybe I can just run make statement on it. So make statement of p dot statement. Does that work? This needs to be a parser dot statement, and what I have is I have a SQL dot statement. I need to be, all right, I need to be passing s dot select. I think, does that work? I don't know what I'm doing. So people call this with what? Parse command dot statement. Oh, it's just a little wrapper. I can create a wrapper here relatively easily. Parser dot statement. The AST is going to be s dot select. Is that enough? Okay, that is enough. Cool. So statement and instrumentation helper. Can I just pass nil for this or not really? Okay, so if I do this, and then I guess I could pass in my p dot instrumentation. Is that even a good idea though? I don't know. This does a bunch of stuff and what does this do? Encapsulates the logic around extracting information about the execution. We probably don't want to do this because it'll confuse things. I don't know if it's going to crash if I pass nil, but I'll try it. So let's just make a new opt planning context. I guess I can probably just use the one that we've got since we're done with the planning at this point. And then I run exec memo. And that should be fine. And here we can return nil error. And then I can just ignore the memo, I think. Okay, let's try this. Let's see if this does anything good. Okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Begin, declare cursor as blah. Okay, well that's because I still left that other change in here, presumably, right? Which is not valid for whatever reason. Where did I leave that thing? In here. This guy. Let's get rid of this guy. Don't know why would it hang like that? I don't get that, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It does kind of matter, but it doesn't really matter. Matter? Okay, what about this? Begin, declare, hang forever, huh? That is weird. Oh, it doesn't hang forever, it just crashes. What is the crash, though? Stack Overflow. So it gets into some recursion. Why is that? Why does it get into some recursion? I do not get this, man. The recursion is what? It says build exec memo, calls build, try build opaque, and it just calls declare cursor again. So is it basically that for whatever reason? Thing that we pass in. Oh. Oh, what? P is equal to opc.p. And OPC has a planner, man. It's all, that's very gross. I don't like that very much. Why would it use this and not? That's very frustrating. Very frustrating. Can I just say opc.p.statement is equal to statement? Get rid of this. Maybe that will improve things. I don't know how safe any of this is, honestly, but we're just hacking around to see if we can make things work a bit better. Okay, so we'll run this again. Yay! Okay, that's good, at least. And then let's run our test cases here.
Why do you think he uses reindeer? It was on the afternoon of Christmas Eve, and I was in Mrs. Prothero's garden, waiting for cats with her son Jim. It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas. December, in my memory, is white as Lapland, although there were no reindeer. Cats at the word.
Okay. Relation test.public.a already exists. Fine. Let's edit that test to fix the problem. So let's make this called create table big. A big. Big. big, order by. No, this one we want to keep. This one we want to keep. Create table big, insert into big, select star from big, insert into big. Okay. Try this again. There's already a transaction in progress. Okay, we're getting a bit closer. Line 110. So we just need to abort our current transaction before we do the test. And then I think we should be good to go, hopefully. Unexpected column count, line 303. This is a different test case than I was expecting. Name, statement, is scrollable, is holdable, is binary. Name, statement, is scrollable, it's... Uh-oh, TTBBB. No, this does look good, actually. What's the deal with that? Unexpected column count. Expected results are invalid. Unexpected column count. Let's just get rid of this and then just use our rewrite capability to make sure that we're... Okay, so that passed. And if I do it again, does it work? Unexpected column count. Is it basically just because... why would this be? Is it just because we've got text in here? Is that the issue? What if I were to just say like this? Would this work okay? The line 303. No, I don't. Oh, okay. So didn't delete the rest of the column. So let's fix that. Is it just that it gets tripped up with text that has more spaces in it? Is that the issue? Unexpected column count. Line 303. That's an annoying problem. If I just have a single column, does it work? Like this? That actually works fine. Why would that be the case? It's definitely weird. It's just like an issue in our test harness, basically. It's definitely weird. Maybe it's fine though. Okay, so now that we've got this all set up, the last thing that we need to do is just make sure that when we actually run this guy, we also pretend that we're in a read-only state to make sure that we can't plan these mutations. And then I think we should be basically good to go. But how do we do that again? So if we go back to our find, cannot execute whatever in read-only transaction. If eval context.read only, then do something. So I think we can basically just set this guy. Although it doesn't exactly have the nicest output. I wonder if, can we test whether like a memo has mutations in it? Maybe memo dot metadata dot. Do we ever write down whether we have mutations in this thing? Contains mutation. plan top.flags. That's set. Okay, well that's cool. So can I use this? Run exec builder? Contain, well, maybe not. How do I test whether it contains builder.contains mutation? And this guy is set in the exec builder, which is sort of weird. But that's okay. I suppose I could just do that, huh? So I can just say opc.run exec builder. Then I've got to pass in all of this extra stuff, which is frankly annoying. Frankly, it is annoying. I suppose I could just run and explain. Seems weird. Then again, does this happens in the exec builder too? Okay, well that's unfortunate. So I guess there's no way around it. I do actually have to run the exec build here. And I wonder if there's a shortcut for me to be able to do that. So in make optimizer plan, for example, you do this. Let me do this. Well, let's just make it happen, shall we? All right, so we pass in our plan top, we pass in our statement, we pass in our... It's annoying that this stuff is all bound to the planner. I definitely don't like that, but I don't know if there's much we can do about it. So we're going to try this, and we're going to say if is not equal to nil, return error. And this, does this populate the whole thing somewhere? Where does this put the whole thing? Puts it in plan. Where does it actually set? It's a little bit confusing. Where do we, so after we run the exec builder here, where do we typically get the plan out? Is it this? Maybe it's this. Okay, well, we'll try this out. I'm a little nervous that there's also some stuff that we're doing that we're not going to properly shut down the plan. I'm not sure if we have to, but it's definitely possible that we do, which would be a little bit weird. I hope we don't have to shut the thing down once we've just created it, but I don't really know. Populates p.cur plan. Doesn't seem like we have to do that. Okay. Make build. Okay, so we'll run our demo, run our begin. Make sure this doesn't work. Oops. Okay. Oh wait, begin, declare. Okay, this doesn't work. Let's also begin and then run. All right, the whole point of this, you guys, and we forgot to do it, was to say, we have to say if plan top dot, where is the darn plan top dot main dot okay, I'm still confused. We just throw away this exec builder, do we? So this contains mutation. Does this get recorded anywhere? Plan top dot flags that's set. Okay, cool. So we can't actually do it. We can say if plan top dot flags dot contains is set, plan flags contains mutation. Then we can say cursors are not allowed to. Cursors with mutations are invalid. And so for this, I just wanted to check. I think Postgres has a special error for this. It does indeed. So OA000, which is OA000, feature not supported. So we can say return nil pg error dot new f pg code dot feature not supported. And the message, is declare cursor must not contain data modifying statements. Just like that. And with. Okay, so then let's write a quick test. Make sure that CTEs with mutations are banned. Did I misspell with? I sure did. Thank you, Travua. Okay, so we're gonna say statement okay, begin, declare bar cursor for with X as insert into A values. And then what is A made of here? Create table A and primary key. Insert it into A values 1, 2, returning A, select star from X. This actually statement error, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's just make sure that this doesn't work here. Make test-based logic. What's up, Edgar? How are you doing? I'm pretty good too. I'm pretty good too. It doesn't work. Okay, declare cursor. I think it is actually working. I just put the wrong error message. So let's just put this here. Hooray, test pass. Okay, very, very good. Let's go ahead and add a test case for, well, we also want to add one more test case. Make sure that declaring a cursor against an invalid query is eagerly returned as an error. Something weird that's been happening with my terminal. I don't know why that's been happening. But anyway, so if I say begin, here we gotta say rollback. Well, let's put the rollback down here. Rollback, begin, declare, foo, cursor. Let's also make this foo. Cursor for select star from whatever. And this needs to also be a query error. Make sure that that works all right as well. Relation whatever does not exist. relation doesn't exist, does not exist. Expected relation does not exist, but got doesn't exit. I misspelled that. Okay, very cool. So let's go ahead and add this as a commit as well. So git add -p. Well, this we want to commit to the old one. Okay, so let's quickly commit this one to this guy here. We're gonna say git add -p again. Grab this guy, but this guy's gonna come back to different one as well. This one. Okay, now git add -p. Yes, yes, yes. No, no, no. Okay, so git commit. So we're gonna say SQL evaluate. I guess it's sort of ban mutations from cursor queries. Cursors are not allowed to run mutations via common table expressions. Ban them by running the optimizer against on the statement up front. Also, this allows us to return any plan errors eagerly on declare rather than waiting for fetch. Release node none. Okay, here we've got a little spammer. Could ban this fella. What's up for free, by the way? Okay, so that's good. We're all good. Get CO1. So let's go ahead and I think there was one last thing I wanted to do here, which is that I wanted to respond to the code review here that someone left me. So relative fetch can also be backward. Can we check that after offset is not negative? That is a good point. We're doing that right now. Begin. Okay, table A, begin, let's insert rather. Actually, we can use the other form. So create table, okay, begin, declare, fetch 10 foo. And if I say fetch relative -2 foo, what happens? Cursor can only scan forward. No, I think this is handled elsewhere, but I've added a test for it. Need to try to find something and make PR. We have 3.9K issues. Yeah, we have a lot of issues, but don't let that scare you. You should definitely try to contribute. If you search for good first, I think I have even a command for this. Good first issue. There's some good ones. This could probably be unexported. No, I think this does actually need to be exported, right? SQL. I guess that's true. But the thing is that yeah, no, you're probably right. So we can call this next. Well, it's a bit, let's just, well, we'll keep it actually, because I think it's kind of nice to have it implement the, oh, well, it shadows the .next on the embedded internal rows, so I think it's better to keep exported. Added comment. Next implements the internal rows.next. Internal rows interface. Merry Crabmass to you, my friend Dirter, as well. Hope you're doing good. Speaking of Merry Crabmass, I gotta take off in a minute, but hopefully I can finish this code review real quick. Close cursor, closes the name cursor. Get cursor, returns the name cursor. Resolve. Yes, that's true. We can support this with a different kind of parser style. I think the role options are implemented this way as well. That's a bit annoying. How does... Oh, it's like this that they do it. Okay. Don't really want to do this right now, so I won't. But maybe I'll do it later. It's true. The Postgres grammar does this in a different way. I will try to do this as well. Though I don't know how, well, it probably does matter to some extent. There appears to be tabs for 7 options in a row here. Did I introduce tabs? Did I introduce tabs and I shouldn't have introduced tabs? Let's fix that. Wow, I'm so confused. Why would there be... Why does this matter? I don't know. Tabs, man, they shouldn't exist. Tabs should be abolished. But I also, my editor doesn't even show me... Oh, this one has tabs. That's so annoying. Can I change this thing to show tabs? I bet I can. Tab? Editor tabs. Editor tabs? No, that's not the same type of tab. It's tabs in the editor, which is different. How the heck do I have it? Search on the internet for this. IntelliJ show tabs. Show non-printable characters. Show white spaces. Show white spaces. That's kind of funny. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Show white spaces, please. Show me my white spaces. Ooh. Yes, now I can blast these tabs with impunity. Why would there even be tabs here in the first place is a big question. I don't think I added them. I feel like I want my thing to never insert any tabs because I don't like those things. I don't like those things one bit. Okay, so that's that. Tabs reign supreme, do they though? Okay, git add 1, git commit, fix up this one. Fixed. Does it not matter to distinguish between? No, it doesn't. Here too. Okay, so, right. Let's add. Where do we implement? Where is this? What commit is this from? This is from move cursor state 2. Right? Yeah. No. What? Yes. Okay, so git commit, fix up, and we'll put this on this one. Okay, so now we can do a big giant rebase. Git rebase -I origin master. Boop. Let's make sure this thing still works properly as well. Must hate .go files. Oh, did .go files use tabs everywhere? I don't even know. Oh yeah, I guess they do. I do hate .go files, I guess. Okay, I take it back. Tabs are the best. I hate spaces. Why do I have any spaces? This whole parser should be using tabs, not spaces. See, I don't even know. I need to get rid of this white space crap now because it's ugly and useless. The best kind of white space to have is no white space, and your editor handles it for you. That's my opinion. Okay, git push -f mine. Publish. Okay, so now let's go ahead and write a quick update on this issue. And I think we'll call it a day. Okay, so after discussions with N. Van Binschoten, I've tried out, so okay, I'll just say it like this. Update the insensitivity property is a bit more tricky to produce than I originally thought. The reason is that the internal executor that we create to run the cursor it just uses the user transaction as normal. It doesn't capture any transaction state. This means that any subsequent writes in the transaction actually do edit the read sequence number of the transaction that the internal executor is using, and thus will make the cursor sensitive. Subsequent writes in the transaction will be visible by a cursor that was declared earlier. It seems like there are two ways to handle this. One is to use a leaf transaction with a fixed read sequence number like we do in dist SQL. But leaf transactions have some limitations. You can't spawn more leaf transactions from them, which means that you couldn't run a dist SQL query in a cursor. And you also can't set a deadline on a leaf transaction, which is used during query setup. So this strategy would require some extra work. The other is to update the transactions read timestamp or read sequence number on the fly. This is only safe if the cursor's transaction is not used concurrently with the user's transaction. But since the cursor's transaction is running in an internal executor, which is streaming and frozen when after each call to .next, we can in fact guarantee this. So what this PR does is update the transactions, the cursor transactions. Well, I guess it's the update the user's transactions read sequence number when running fetch on the cursor and restoring the sequence number and restore the sequence number when the fetch is complete. This appears to work, but it could possibly be broken. I'm not too sure. After discussions with and it's good. Okay. Comment. All right. I think that's gonna do it because I have to take off. But it's been a good stream. I think I'm gonna stream tomorrow. It's Christmas, you know. I got nothing going on, to be honest. My girlfriend, she's gonna be hanging out with her family in the morning. Maybe it's a morning stream. So if you guys are around Christmas morning, not opening presents like me, if you're Jewish, for example, or if you're quarantining, or if you're estranged from all of your family, or if you're just chilling, you got nothing to do, tune in tomorrow. I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're gonna do something good. It'll be fun. It'll be grand. Maybe we'll play Babel Royale, a great word game that you guys should all check out, by the way. So we're gonna find someone to raid though. And I hope you guys have a really fulfilling and wonderful time with your family if you're doing that. I hope things are gonna be good for you. So that's my hope for you on this day. That is my hope for you on this day. Happy belated Hanukkah. Happy belated Hanukkah. So let's take a look. Who can we raid here? By the way, join the Discord if you haven't. I'm trying to grow the Discord. We're gonna have lots of great convos in there, chilling, talking about databases and other software stuff and really anything. So join the Discord and also follow me on Twitter if you haven't done that already. You know, give me that follow. Large data bank. Do I have a command for that? I don't know. Anyway, follow me on Twitter. Okay, let's find someone to raid. Let's just go ahead. Why don't we just go ahead and raid this person? Programming with the whatever. Okay, so let's give this a shot. Raid this person. Seems like they're doing some cool stuff. Although they do have a follower-only chat, which is a little bit irritating, but you know, maybe you could give them a follow. Give them a follow. It's all good. All right, y'all. Have a good Christmas Eve. Have a good Christmas. Hope to see you tomorrow. If not, have a good weekend. Bye-bye.